Several years ago, while I was in high school, an incident occurred that has haunted me to this day. It the last period on a Friday, and as usual we were all antsy to get out and get the weekend started. The day had started sunny, but now a storm was moving in. It was Mr. Young's history class. Mr. Young wasn't very old and he was pretty laid back, but also disciplined. He didn't put up with any classroom antics at all. He usually showed a movie on Fridays. Of course, it was typically a film or documentary on history. But this day he put on an old movie called Alien. While we were creeping out, Mr. Young graded papers and otherwise ignored us. I remember when the incident started vividly. We were all on the edge of our seats as Sigourney Weaver, what a badass, took on the creature. But before she could escape its clutches, the principal, Mrs. Fleck, came over the PA. Her voice wavered as she told our teachers to lock our classrooms and turn out the lights. This was not a drill. We had an intruder in the building. Lockdown procedures were now in place. I couldn't believe it and felt a surge of fear come over me. My literally standing up on my neck. She continued that they believed an animal, but didn't know for sure. It had crashed through the glass door at the front of the school. Now keep in mind, that when I was in school, there were no police or security guards on campus, nor were there any cameras to keep tabs of our comings and goings. So, no one knew for sure what was happening. Our usually calm teacher was wide-eyed and his hands shaking. Mr. Young locked the door, turned off the lights, and had us all huddle in the far corner of the room. We were all whispering to each other when Mr. Young's voice cracked as he told us to be. One of the girls began to sob and her boyfriend tried to comfort her. We didn't need to draw attention to ourselves. We all sat quiet for some time, listening for any hint of what might be out in the halls. Then the emergency lights in the classroom came on. There was a collective gasp and I knew that the power to the building was out. A sense of dread came over me and 3 of the girls began to cry, causing comforting whispers from some of the students. Mr. Young did his best to calm them down, but it didn't work. I began to look around and saw my classmates' terrified looks. After several more minutes, I heard the slap of large feet on the hallway floor. It sounded like a wet towel striking the hard surface, but much louder. It didn't help the mood in the room. The footsteps walked past our room, their sound deafening. As the sound retreated down the hall, it stopped. Silence. Some relief at last. Maybe it left. That's when a ferocious roar echoed through the building. It was unlike anything I had ever heard. It went on for several minutes only to be replaced by tremendous banging. Something was beating on the lockers and walls. I could hear metal giving way and concrete breaking. This thing was powerful. The beatings continued, gradually moving from the far end of the hall until it stopped right outside our door. The thick wooden door was still locked securely, which I was thankful for. Then the beating on the door started. The door shook. The top bent in. I could see it vibrating violently with each strike. The creature continued until I heard the crack of wood. It was making its way in. The door began to splinter. 2 of the girls and a couple of the guys screamed at this point. I don't know if the screams did it or if something distracted the creature, but it stopped and we heard the slap of feet once again in the hall until they finally disappeared. The sound of police sirens provided a sense of relief to us all. We could hear footsteps cautiously shuffling in the hallway. The police were clearing the building. It must have been half an hour later that the lights suddenly came on. Mrs. Fleck was immediately on the PA letting us that all was clear and that the power panels were smashed and the emergency generator was providing power to the building. She told the teachers to immediately excuse us and send us home without returning to our lockers. She said the police would escort us out. As we left the classroom, I wasn't prepared for what I saw. Even though the police were herding us out as fast as possible, it amazed me. There were actual footprints in the hard hallway floors. They were huge. Nearly every locker was smashed in. Most were crushed at the top, and I don't think they could have been opened. There were also holes in the concrete block walls high above the lockers. The creature must be enormous. After the incident, a rumor spread that the custodian was caught by the creature in his custodial closet. It was said that he was torn limb from limb and was unrecognizable except for his bloodied uniform. I never did see him again and heard later that he quit. I wonder. I went home that day shaken. School was called off for the next week and we were all assigned to other schools. The building has been vacant ever since. To this day I don't know what was out there. I suppose it could have been an ape escaped from the zoo, although there was never anything said and there were no news reports. So, was it an ape or something else?
Subscribe, like, and comment. Watch these videos next.